You're good.
Perfect. Great. All right. Welcome, everyone. Today, we are going to talk about advanced LinkedIn strategies. So hopefully, you'll take away a good little nugget today, or two or three. And that's really the point, is to kind of continue to go through these workshops and webinars and different information sessions to pull out the little things that are going to help you. Sometimes it's just one little thing. I'm Rose Fuller. I'm the Director of the Career Development Services Office at Florida Gulf Coast University, and let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go through is our outline. We're going to talk about why LinkedIn. Why do we even bother using LinkedIn? We're going to talk about the profile. We're going to talk about searches. We're going to talk about groups, and we're going to talk about networking within all of this. Okay. So let's talk about this. So why are we doing LinkedIn? Well, this is usually the place where in the middle of any webinar that I'm ever doing, I say stop and look at this statistic, because if you don't remember anything today, I want you to remember this. 80% of jobs are gotten through word of mouth. This is huge. This is huge in all networking, whether it's live or virtual. So this is sort of the basis of why even LinkedIn was created. You want to remember that it is all about who you're connected to, who you know, and how you utilize those relationships. So to build on that, it's pretty impressive when you think about right now, 575 million people are on LinkedIn worldwide. That is a huge number. So that's really why you want to be on LinkedIn. There's a lot of people you can connect to. There's 150 million in the United States. There's 20 million companies listed. There's 14 million job openings alone. So if you think about those numbers, it's staggering, and there should be a reasonable way for you to connect with those companies, job openings, and people. And then the other reason why we want to be on LinkedIn is because recruiting and hiring managers are all over it. They're on it. They're connecting with their peers. They're looking for new candidates. And this is a place for you to contact them directly. 90% of recruiters are regularly using LinkedIn. So that's a tremendous number and another reason of why you want to be on LinkedIn. And finally, video is the next mega trend that kept coming out in all of my research as I was pulling together information for this workshop. Apparently Zuckerberg has proclaimed that that's what video is going to be, the next mega trend. And so you have to really think about what are the platforms that are utilizing video. There was also some statistics that executives and people who are breezing through tons of information every single day would prefer to watch a quick 1-minute video than to read a 3-minute article. So that's the next trend, and this can work in your favor. So when you're looking at the industry rankings of who is on LinkedIn, this is how it's broken down. And these are numbers for 2019. So number 1 is information technology, hospital and healthcare, construction, education, management, retail, financial services, accounting, computer software, automotive, and higher education are the top 10. Now that doesn't mean that there aren't other industries, but those are just the top ones. And you can see there's obviously a little bit of everything based on this very colorful pie chart here. Okay, let's talk about some of the really important parts of getting started on LinkedIn, and that's developing the profile. And you definitely want to optimize this is going to attract you to those recruiters. And I want to mention that we talk a lot about building your profile in the first LinkedIn workshop that we did about a month ago, and that's recorded and live on our workshop. The recording is available for you on our website at fgcu.edu/career services. So I'm not going to go into tons of detail on building your profile. I'm just going to quickly review and then give you some tips. So the first 1 through 5 is the review. So you definitely want to make sure that that profile picture is professional, a nice headshot. You aren't standing in a bar, and the picture is clear and we can see exactly who you are. Number 2, make sure that you have an accurate and concise headline, summary, and experience section. There's a lot of ways to manipulate these different areas. So I want to make sure that you're able to see that those are great spots to manage. Number 3, recommendations. I strongly recommend that you get some recommendations from former supervisors, former coworkers that you have actually worked with, maybe an internship supervisor, and maybe a professor that has seen your work. You would like for them to be able to talk about your work in that recommendation. Number 4, add media. We just heard that video is the next mega trend. So if you have some great PowerPoints, maybe you've spoken publicly, and maybe you need to show some examples of your work, it's a great place to add it. And then finally, you can actually reorder your LinkedIn skills. They just kind of come up haphazardly, and you can kind of click that little pencil icon and move them up and down in order of importance that you want them to appear. Okay, and then number 6, this is probably the most important part after you've built the profile, is you need to regularly check in. You want to follow those that you're interested in. You want to follow industry leaders and follow them in the direction you're heading. So if you maybe were former resort and hospitality and now you're moving into healthcare industry, then start to follow those people in that new industry. Think of it as like free virtual mentoring, because you can listen to what they have to say about the new industry. Make sure you're liking things, try to post things, use hashtags, and try to update your profile monthly, because what happens is it gets refreshed and it looks new and fresh to these recruiters that are checking them out all the time. Okay, that's that on profile, because you can watch that other webinar. Number 2, let's dive deeper into searches. There are so many ways to do searches, and a lot of really what you need to think about is just digging deep, just going deeper, keep clicking, seeing what comes up, and just trying more and more things. So the first type of search, you can pull down in that top open where the glass, this thing is, this whatever hourglass thing that you get to search in. And once you pull that down, you have all of these different options. So obviously people helps you go through your own network and your group. So it'll pull up the names of the people that are in that. Jobs are going to definitely be most of the jobs that you can find on the web, and you're going to want to fine tune that. We'll talk about that in a second. Content, you can actually just type in a word that you want to learn more about. Maybe I want to learn more about interviewing, or maybe I want to learn more about healthcare topics or things like that. You can do a search that way. Companies, obviously, it's a great place to find companies, and then you can see all the employees that are on LinkedIn that work at that company, and that's going to help bring you closer to that. Schools, a great place to search. You can see what kinds of companies are recruiting in schools, and then you can also see where some of the school's alumni work. So you can kind of do it in two different ways. And then finally, groups. Groups we're going to talk a little bit more about, but this is a great place for you to network, kind of dig in, start talking to people. And then lastly, your inbox. You're going to start talking to people like a little email inbox in there, and you can do a search through the inbox to kind of go back and see what kinds of things are relevant to your job search. So you really just get in there, dig in, start searching around, and you're going to start finding some great stuff. So in case you don't know what Boolean searches are, these are the keywords that help you go through the searching and be most effective and efficient in your search. And LinkedIn recommends that you handle your search in this order if possible. The first one is quotes, okay? It's pretty easy and simple. You're looking for a product manager, so you would put the entire title in quotations. The second is going to be parentheses. So maybe you wanted to do a more complex search. You can combine different things, like the example, assistant to VP in quotes, or SVPs, and then not the assistant or SVPs. So it kind of breaks it down a little bit more if you want to do it broader that way. Then you can use not, which is also important. And all of these next words, they do need to be in capitalization. You can say programmer, not manager, so you can kind of dial that down a little bit more. You can use and, accountant and finance and CPA if you want to make that a little bit tighter. And then you can also use or if you want to broaden it again. If you want to say what is just out there in that, you can do sales or marketing or advertising. And again, keep it broader. Okay. So then you can also do a search when you're searching companies. You can go into the company. If you'll see here, I pulled up Reach Moby, which is a local company. And then you can go into the connections and see who do I know. I can go through my first round of connections and then my second round of connections. And then you hit apply. And then up comes a new list of people. So then it starts to point you out as to how many people do I actually know that already work in that company. And that's going to bring you closer to knowing somebody on the inside when you're looking through the different companies. So there's a great way to do some advanced searching through the company side. Okay, let's talk a little bit about searching for jobs. So the first way to do it is kind of your normal way, like you would in any other job search engine. You would go to the filters, you would fill out what title you want, but then you can actually turn this little job alert toggle on. And that's going to help you move through that, give you the alerts, and you can dive deeper into that and set different kinds of job alerts, whether you want it emailed to you, how often, when, and how you want to do that. Then also if you see a job that you're pretty excited about and you're not quite ready to apply to it, you can actually tag it and save jobs, and then it'll be under this tab, jobs, and under a job tracker section. And so it'll show all of your saved jobs, your favorited jobs, basically. And then finally, when you get to the section where you're ready to start applying, there's two ways to apply. There's an easy apply in LinkedIn in, and then there's your regular applying button. The regular applying button is probably going to take you away from LinkedIn out into the company's website or a third-party website where you're going to apply for the job sort of externally like you normally would in any other route. But the LinkedIn Easy Apply is another route to go in if you want to just quick whip them over your LinkedIn profile. Now, your LinkedIn profile is also sort of standing in as your resume. So I would really only recommend the Easy Apply if your profile is in absolute top shape and is probably a pretty strong match for the job requirements, because that's going to really draw their attention, and you're going to have less opportunity to, say, finesse and tailor your resume as you would in the regular apply section. And you may or may not be able to put in any comments like a cover letter. So you want to make sure that, depending on the route, that you're using the right button for the right application. Okay, so these two guys I found on a pretty credible or a very credible podcast, and I really liked what they had to say. So I'm going to share a couple of their tips. This is Omar Garrett and Jeremy Sheffielding. They both actually worked at LinkedIn for a period of time and now are both working in tech sector and doing some other things. And they've created their own company called the LinkedIn Guys. One of the things that they've recommended right here. So here's a cool tip. Go to LinkedIn search box and put in "I'm hiring," which is right up here, because you're going to find the hiring managers who put that in their headline. So look at, this is what some of these hiring managers do. They write product manager at Facebook, "I'm hiring." Product at Amazon, "I'm hiring." So, sorry, if you're looking at that, if you do a product search, "I'm hiring," then all of these people come up who's hiring. So then you can decide and filter through that whether you want to reach out to them and see what kinds of positions that they're looking for. So it's a good little trick that you can pay attention to. Their second little trick that I'm going to let you listen to as well is making sure that you have a referral inside. And then if you're working with a headhunter, you want to make sure that they're on your side. But let me play this podcast piece, and you're going to really appreciate this. I'm going to pull it over here. Give me a second. Okay. Ah. Okay. No, maybe it's not working for me. Darn. Ah. All right, we're gonna have to move on without that one. Sorry, guys. But they basically said that when you see different jobs posted, you actually want to apply rather quickly, because sometimes companies are looking through some of these jobs, trying to decide who they're going to interview. And so if you're applying quickly and in that first batch, right when you see it come up, you may be some of the first people that they interview. So it's a little tip, it's a little hack, but it's a great way to utilize the way that they advertise it on LinkedIn, because it should work for you in the fact that you're able to get in that first round so that they can interview you. Because once they start getting hundreds and hundreds of applications, they just aren't going to go through them all, is the point. Okay, sorry that didn't work. Worked when I practiced, but not today. Okay, let's go to number 3. We're going to talk about groups. Now, this is the best way to reach recruiters. Something to think about is you don't want to be afraid to join groups. You don't want to be afraid to leave groups, and then you can rejoin groups later. So groups change. You want to check in on them regularly. You want to make sure that they're working for you. And so there's a lot to be said about groups, and I'll tell you how to do that. So how do I do groups, right? That's kind of the big question. So you definitely want to make sure that you are sounding smart, that you are sounding like you have something intelligent to say. So you want to grow that influence if you can. So you want to contribute with fresh, relevant insights without constantly talking about yourself, right? So it's not really all about you. It's about what you know about the industry, or what you may know about what is going on with a particular type of job. Could be trends, things like that you're aware of. You want to engage frequently with these discussions. Started with other group members. This is where you can build some relationships, even if they're across the country. Everybody has a general sense of knowing, different kinds of recruiters. And again, it's about who you know, who knows who. Then don't overwhelm yourself, obviously, by joining lots of groups. You are limited to joining 100 groups, but you don't want to run out and join the 100 groups, right? You want to focus on quality over quantity, and make sure that you really are engaging appropriately. So which groups do I join? That's the big question then. All right? There's several kinds of groups, okay? There's regional groups, right? Like you might want to join something that's like about Southwest Florida or Fort Myers or Naples or wherever you're trying to focus on. Oh, sorry. Then there's industry groups, like say you want to get involved deeper into healthcare. So that would be an industry. Function groups, say you are in human resources. So you want to dive in deeper into human resources and just learn more about that. And then there's expertise groups. So something, for example, would be like the SHRM group, which is the Society for Human Resource Management, and that's an expertise group within a function of that. So there's lots of groups. Again, going back to what I originally said, join them, leave them, rejoin them. It's okay. Watch for trends and how quickly they're growing. That means that it's probably a hot group and people are talking a lot in it. So that would be another key to the groups. Okay, here we're at the last section, networking. So now you want to use what you've built or what you're building, right? The first thing is, how do you do this? How do I network on LinkedIn? It can be very hard. So First off, reach out to your old contacts now to touch base. You want to lay the foundation for reconnecting and not doing it when you're feeling really, really desperate. So you want to talk, throw that wide net, remember people that you used to work with, remember people that were in your classes, old alumni, things like that. Really make sure that you are connecting with them now, and then you can follow up again when you start to really need something. You may want to try an informational interview with a second degree connection. So that means that somebody that you're not immediately connected to, but your connection is connected to. So you want to ask that first degree connection if they will introduce you to that other person and to have a meeting. So an informational interview is, again, sitting down with somebody who's doing something that you want to do. And so then you're learning a lot more about that job in particular, and sometimes the industry, by just talking to them and letting them talk and letting them tell you all of their knowledge. Then we have an opportunity for you to think about reviewing your current first degree connections and looking for opportunities at their present job employers and maybe even their past employers. So you want to think through, you know, your core people that know you and will go to bat for you, and then just start thinking about, I never really thought about that, or I didn't realize that. Those are opportunities, again, for you to utilize that networking in LinkedIn. Okay, let's talk about some networking tips as well. We'll keep going. So the first big networking tip, and sometimes people emphasize it and sometimes don't. I strongly recommend it all the time, unless that person sits next to you in the next office and you don't need to put it. But otherwise, the first thing you can do is add a note. So personalize that connection request. People aren't always on LinkedIn as much maybe as you are right now, especially if you're looking for a job. And so maybe they saw you at an event, you sent a note, and they didn't look at their LinkedIn again for 2 more weeks. They may have completely forgotten who you are or when they met you. But if you write a little note in there like, hi, I met you at the FGCU PR and Marketing Fair. It was great to talk to you and would love to keep in touch. Then they remember it, it triggers there. Here's another way to write a note. You can reach out to somebody that you haven't talked to in a long time and send a little note. It's been so long, things like that. So you definitely want to add those notes and personalize it because people get tons and tons of requests. The second thing is making sure that you're turning the toggle on that says let recruiters know you're open. This is under your dashboard on your front page, and it's actually a place where you basically can have a conversation with a recruiter right there. You can put in a few little notes like, I'm looking to move to Tampa, I really only want a Java programming kind of position, whatever it might be. And this is a great spot to make sure that you have that little toggle on. Okay, some more tips. There is a really cool actual piece on the mobile device. It's called Find Nearby, and you turn it on right about here. And if you're next to somebody else with their phone on, also with their LinkedIn on, it will pull them up. All of a sudden, that person comes up and you can just accept it. So if you are at a networking event, maybe a conference, you probably met tons of people at those things and you think, gosh, I'd really like to follow up with that person. I really want to. You can be doing that. It's not creepy. It sounds a little creepy, but it's not as creepy as you think, especially if other people are heavily on LinkedIn as well. I actually was at a conference once and we all sat on this big 10-person conference table, as you know how they are, and we all just turned on our phones and we all got everybody's connections right then and there. It was really cool. Another tip, you can search alumni, and this is huge. You should really take advantage of your alumni because alumni really want to give back as well. So you can search them within a company. So for instance, here I pulled up Gartner, and then I pulled up Florida Gulf Coast University, and then several people, lots of different kinds of people showed up. I just grabbed one person. But that is one way to search for alumni. Another way to search for alumni is to go onto the Florida Gulf Coast University LinkedIn page, and they have what's called the Alumni Tool plugin. So then you can go down here and click alumni, and then up comes all the alumni that are connected with this page, and you can start to look at where do they work, and you can just start browsing through it and do different kinds of searches. So I just showed you sort of two opposite ways to do searches based on alumni. Okay, so in summary, LinkedIn is a fantastic networking tool to use during this coronavirus COVID-19 time. You can really get ahead and make some major accomplishments and major steps while you are maybe isolated at your house. But there's obviously no replacement for live networking and relationship building, because that's really the core of it all. So you definitely want to try to continue to do that as safely as you can when things start to open up. Ideally, your job search would be most successful with a combination of live and virtual networking, because you do need to be online to see what kinds of jobs are posted and what's open, but then you also need to be out and talking to people to be able to make those relationships and have that into the company. And finally, you just need to start using it. You just need to dig in deep, like I said, do searches, start to spend some time on it. The more people you can connect with and build up that base, the more you will be linked to all of these other people. Okay. This is my reference sheet in case anyone wanted to pay attention. I did do a lot. If you would like a LinkedIn profile review and you're a student, you can book an appointment with any career advisor that we have through Appointment Manager, or you can email us at careercenter@FGCU if you're an alumni. And you please check out our virtual career services webpage. It's, like I said earlier, fgcu.edu/career services, and pay attention to the supporting materials button. It has a gold line of information, and I am currently updating the May resource guide, which has a bunch of live links, and that will be up by tomorrow, end of day. I'm just finishing up some final things, but I found through my research, I added to some of the things that was already up there for the April one. The April one is up there now, but I've added more for the May one, and I will get that up there as soon as possible. And now we're ready for questions.
Thanks, Rose. That was great.
Thanks.
I'm ready to go.
Okay.
I'm not going anywhere,
don't go job searching. Yeah.
No, I'm not job searching. So. All right. So let me see if anyone has anything in the chat, because I don't know where that went. Where did the chat go?
So anybody can just, there's no chat. I don't think there's anything in the chat. If you have questions, you can write it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and we'll talk. I'll stop the share. So now we can just all see each other.
There we go.
Here we go. Who has questions?
Don't be shy. Let's get off to a slow start with questions.
I know. Ashrith, okay, is Career Services reopening on campus in fall? Ashrith, you know more than anybody. We want to be there, right? We totally want to be there. We are waiting for what President Martin decides to announce in late June, possibly as late as July 1st, and he will announce a rollout of what fall is going to look like. But even if we're not 100% capacity, there will be some of us on campus, I imagine. Okay, what else?
All the services are available online.
Yes, everything is available online.
Yeah.
Samantha, all right. Is getting ahead of the game with finding your next job a good idea, though, through LinkedIn, even though you already have a job with a time limit? Absolutely. This is a great time, Samantha, to be developing those relationships so that you're not activating them only when you need them, but to sort of think in the bigger picture, in the bigger theory of lifelong networking. And that's going to be something you're going to want throughout your career regardless. And so if you're engaging in things right now and you're digging a little bit deeper, not only are you probably going to be making new connections, but you're probably going to be learning something new about your industry or possibly your job type, the thing that you're involved in. What else have we got? Absolutely, Samantha. Ashra, this is about the scams. You got something unexpected about a mystery shopper. Yes, we're working hard for the scams, Ashra. Mary spends a couple of hours every day just trying to like pull out some of these bad employers. Well, if they're even employers, these scammers, I guess. And we're trying real hard. So it's good that you're being vigilant and not being sucked into something that doesn't sound quite right. So to everyone else, if you haven't been paying attention, there are a lot of scammers out there, and you really want to make sure that if it sounds a little bit too good to be true, it probably isn't a real thing. So you definitely want to pay attention to that, and never ever ever do anything when somebody says send me a check. So I'll send you a check and go cash it. So don't do any of that. Yes, you can just ignore them. Just ignore the emails, Ashra.
Yeah, actually, you can forward it on to the help desk so that they can investigate it, and then they take it down, they find the source. That's the best thing to do, or send it to me and I'll take care of it.
What else do we got?
We always have quiet people.
I know. It's okay. I mean, I hope you guys learned something new. If you felt like, you know, gosh, my profile isn't really where I want it to be to begin with, go back and watch the first one, or setting up an appointment with Raphael or Adam or Lori. She's also on here too. So they're happy, friendly faces. Will this workshop qualify for SOAR 4? No, it will not. No. That's okay, Olivia. Don't worry about it.
This will also be on the resource page on our website, so that you can, if you want to review it again, you can do that.
Or tell your friends. Yep.
Yeah.
Can you advertise on LinkedIn or tag people with certain interests? Meaning like advertise your own product? Is that, or your services? Is that what you mean, Samantha? Yes. Okay. You can advertise. There's a lot of advertising. It's more like savvy professional networking advertising and less of like, hi, buy my stuff kind of a thing. So it's trying to show people how your thing that you sell adds value to sort of the rest of the professional world. So it's a very professional platform. And so I would just say, you know, to keep it and to have people take you seriously on what you have to offer, keep it professional in the way you're going about your sales. You can use hashtags, so you can try to collate some of those things. Okay, Olivia, we don't have any of the only events that are qualifying for SOAR and 4 this summer are going to be the virtual career fair on June 17th. That's the Florida Career Center's statewide one. That's on our website. And then there possibly will be another virtual career fair in July, but that has yet to be figured out as far as SOAR 4 events, because we really want to, the point of the SOAR 4 recruitment event is to engage you with employers. The other sites to use for a career are on our, Ashworth, you want me to recommend everything on my website? On the career website, is that what you're saying, Ashworth?
Yes, I meant other sites.
Everything on the website, is that what you're saying? Yes.
Yeah,
everything
other sites. Yeah.
Yes. so make sure that you all pay attention to everything on our website because we do have a lot of really great material up there. Thank you, Ashwith.
Yes.
Okay, so Ashley, when trying to network with new people groups, is there a certain etiquette we should follow? Good question, Ashley. I would say, you know, go in with a listening mindset and a questioning mindset. So asking questions, but listening, trying to learn and gain information versus just connecting. So, because when you start to build some relationships, even on a very preliminary level, that's when the connections start and they become easier. So it's sort of that bigger picture of networking is utilize different kinds of things like, hi, you know, even if you're sending an email, an inbox email to try to connect to somebody. I see that you're a director in your field and you must know a lot. I would love to learn a little bit more about what you're doing, right? So that's a little bit more inviting for somebody to respond to instead of, hi, I don't know you, can you help me get a job? You know, that's obviously bad etiquette, but sort of showing those two different extremes is a really good way to think about how do you want to come across when you're talking to people. Does that help, Ashley? And Raphael just put the link to the virtual career fair on June 17th in the chat. So if you want to take a look at that as well. Wish I could see your faces. I can see Gloria and Samantha's pictures, so that's nice. Anything else? Mary, did you have a question?
No, it's my air conditioner that set off the.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Well, we would love to see any and all of you in our career office virtually, I guess. And there's plenty of opportunities to see our career advisors. So if you want to review that LinkedIn profile, feel free. But it's a wonderful tool. And the more you utilize it, the more connections, the more job opportunities will come out. Even the recruiters will start to reach out when your profile is looking good and you look like you're active on LinkedIn. Okay, any last questions?
All right. Well, thank you, Rose.
Nice job, Ashwith. Good. Ashwith's got a part-time offer.
Oh,
All right.
great.
Thank you, everybody. It was great to see and hear you all, and we'll see you on the next one. The next one is an employer panel about interviewing, and it's going to be fantastic, right, Mary?
Yep, that'll be June 4th. So
Perfect. Okay.
then.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.